there folks, Caleb Downing with SDI, and today I'm going to talk about just some quality control pre-checks that you're going to want to do on some of your firearms before you finish a build or Cerakote or really just finalize a project. So let's get into it real quick. Alright, so this right here is an AR-9 upper that we're working on, alright? It's loosely based off of a Noveske Space Invader. Loosely based, meaning a 7.5-inch barrel with the extension to bring it up to like the 8.5-inch barrel that the Noveske has, basically, with a tri-lug. And that system, this whole system, is loosely based off this system that we already have that works, okay? This guy's the same thing, 7.5-inch barrel, it's like a 7-inch handguard with a tri-lug. And as you can tell, with an R9 on here, it matches and mates absolutely beautifully. Talking about the interface here between the R9, the suppressor, and the handguard. Even when you go to take the suppressor off, it is so close. It's like a hair's breadth, right? That's with an R9. Here's an Omega 9K. Same thing. Beautifully matches, almost looks integral. It's just, it's a match made in heaven, all right? And so when we went to go build this upper, right, in this whole new system, we decided to make sure everything checked and decided to basically use some of the same parts and some of the same lengths. 7.5-inch barrel, we have the same branded 3-lug. We have a different branded handguard that says it's the same length. So before I put everything together, I kind of loose fit everything. I didn't tighten it down. We're going to Cerakote this, but before I went down and did all that stuff, I wanted to make sure things fit, and I'm glad I did, because now we can check and see there is not enough room for that 3-lug to go all the way back and compress that spring. That's with the Omega 9K, and also with the R9, there's not enough room for it to work. So if I had gone ahead and said, yes, my pieces are the same length according to spec sheets, according to all this stuff, and I confirmed it on the internet, as it were, I confirmed it on the white sheet, but I didn't actually confirm it in hand, and I went ahead and Cerakoted this guy, Loctited everything, put it all together, handed it over, and then the guy goes to shoot it, and he's going to be pretty ticked that he can't use any of his suppressors, he can't use any of his stuff. It looks good, but it's not going to work. So what we're going to do to fix this whole issue, this ramification here, is I was thinking about it. Like, you're obviously not going to modify your suppressors, your mounts. That's just not going to work. You could potentially get in here and file back the handguard just a little bit, since we are going to be Cerakoting it. That would be an option. You could do that. Or, in this case, what I have found, what I'm going to end up doing, is I'm just going to take a spacer, right? We're not going to use crush washers, as it were, but we're going to use a spacer that we have from I believe this is from a Dead Air washer pack, or not washer pack, but they're washers. And basically, we have this little extension piece that they give us, right? They use these specifically, this little washer. It's not a crush washer. It's not going to crush. It's not going to move. It's going to mate up with the barrel, right past the threads on that flat surface. It's going to mate up there and basically just give us whatever that is, a 1/16 inch of a standoff. Not very much, but we don't need very much, right? And it's going to be all covered up in a handguard. Nobody's ever even going to see it when it's all locked up. And everything's Cerakoted and everything put together. Nobody's gonna see it. Nobody's gonna know. It's not dishonest. We're not trying to be that way. We're trying to make it look good without doing some major permanent modifications, like trimming down the handguard. I really don't think trimming down the handguard would be a very good option. That just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It'd be more trouble than it's really worth when you could do something simple like what we're doing here. A lot of threads on this guy. Alright, so now that we got this guy on here, pretty much hand tight, we could tighten it just a little bit more, and we will when we go to finalize it, but that's not going to change anything. Now, we can take our R9 suppressor, stick that guy on here, and we have the same thing going on, where we have a very close mate. We have plenty of room. That extra little 1/16 of an inch or whatever it was, that's all we needed to get that standoff, and it still looks really good. Very, very close fitting. To make sure for sure, we got some other tri-lugs here. We have one from Dead Air, and we got one from CGS. So Dead Air, we'll make sure that guy goes on here and he locks on there fine. And we get one from CGS, same exact thing. Make sure he goes on, he fits, he works, he does exactly what it needs to do. I don't know if we can turn it without turning it. There we go. He gets on, gets off, and it works fine. So pretty much that's with like 4 different brands of tri-lugs. This is going to work, and this is one of those things to check right? Not just tri-lugs and stuff like that, but make sure, especially if they're going to be using a suppressor, they might potentially be using a suppressor, whatever muzzle device they have, make sure that it works before you pin and weld, right? That's not easy to fix. Before you pin and weld a muzzle device, before you finish a Cerakote job or an assembly or building an entire system like we're doing here, make sure stuff fits beforehand. It can look good and it can match on paper, but make sure when rubber meets the road, the pieces are going to go together properly. All right, hopefully that helps one of you guys out. What kind of issues have you guys run into? Spec issues where on paper it looks like it's going to work. It looks like it's going to be fine and hunky-dory and everything's great. But whenever brass tacks hit the road, that's not even a saying. When stuff actually went together, it didn't work properly. What issues have you guys run across? We'd love to hear back from you guys. Hopefully you found this interesting and helpful. Again, I'm Caleb down with SDI, and hopefully we'll catch you guys in the next video. See you.